These are the top 15 things plant experts do to make their plants look so good that you probably don't. Start doing these things today and you'll have Insta-worthy plants in no time.
There's nothing too complicated here, just some things that you've probably not thought about that can make a big difference.
And make sure you stay tuned to the end because I've got something new to share with you that I've been getting great results from.
When I was just starting out on my plant obsession journey all those many moons ago, I was in the habit of picking up a plant I liked in the store, taking it home, plonking it on the windowsill, and then watering it every Saturday.
This was very much noob settings territory. Nowadays, I'm much more considered. I do a bit of reading on the plant to find out about its natural habitat and then try to mimic this as much as possible at home. You can even do this on ChatGPT these days to make life super simple.
Let's take this Calafea zebrina for example.
ChatGPT says it lives in the warm, humid rainforests of Brazil under the forest canopy where it gets consistent moisture from damp soil.
This tells us in a nutshell what this plant expects to receive in our home. Protection from the sun, consistently damp soil, and in an ideal world, high humidity.
I'll come back to humidity and why high humidity isn't necessarily what you want a bit later in the video. So for me, that means I keep Zebby right here, a good 2 meters from the window, and I never let the soil dry out too much, and she's doing grand. A quick check on Echeveria tells me that it grows in desert regions with lots of sun and that they have adapted to dry conditions with thick, fleshy stems.
Lots of sun and being stingy with the watering is the name of the game then.
So whatever plant it is you have, just do a little research first. It really does go a long way. Now, when you bring a new plant home from the store, it can be very tempting to dote on your dear darling to try and get the best out of him straight away, can't it?
I was in the habit of repotting any new fella I brought home straight away, because I thought that was the best thing to do.
I mean, the soil I get from Cybertanic with my 10% discount is way better than the stuff they're living in, surely. Well, all of this fondling of his private parts may be well intentioned, but it's probably doing more harm than good. Your little guy's probably going through a lot of stress right now.
He's been plucked from the warm, bright and humid surroundings in the nursery and put into a totally new home that might be less than ideal. He needs some time to adjust, and right now, he doesn't want you to pull his trousers down and start messing with his bits, even if the soil you use is gold standard.
It's quite normal for a new plant to lose a few leaves here or there, or for them to turn yellow or crispy brown. Give him a few months sat on the sidelines untouched and he'll normally bounce back. Normally the soil he lives in is just fine for a few months. Once he's settled in, you can start to think about changing his nappy.
Something that I discovered a bit too late in my plant journey is that the plant pros are always doing their due diligence and checking that their babies are not having the life sucked out of them, literally.
I completely missed this step recently and I paid the price. This pothos was on the struggle bus and I just thought he was miserable due to the lack of light. But if you look closely, you can see little white bits on the leaves and stems. Those, my plant friend, are mealybugs and they were sucking my plant dry. I can't believe I missed it.
Generally speaking, if your plant suffers a sudden decline, with stems and leaves turning yellow or brown at an alarming rate, then it would be a good idea to check him over for unwanted visitors.
A pro tip is using a magnifying glass to really see what's going on. I've already talked about how we shouldn't repot our plant as soon as we get him home, but when the time does come to do the deed, you should really avoid breaking up the root ball like a savage.
I see this all the time, but the truth is, it should only be done if the plant is seriously root bound.
There's just no need to go in that heavy on a level 1 or level 2 root bound plant. All we need to do is a very light untangling of the main roots at the bottom to stop them swirling and pop him straight into his new home.
Anything more is a bit of a waste of time. You won't do much damage to the plant, they're much more robust than that, as you'll see in a sec, but just save yourself some aggro and pop them more or less straight into their new home.
The roots will find their way perfectly fine on their own. To show you just how robust the roots of our plants are, check this out. Yep, I'm channeling my inner Leatherface and hacking 1/3 of the root ball off. But why on earth would I do this?
Well, my plant friend, I'm taking the lead from all the plant pros out there that do this without fear of harming their plants. In lots of cases, you end up with a healthier plant, as crazy as that sounds.
Say you've forgotten about a little fella for a couple of years and he's looking a bit old and wrinkly.
If you were to pull his trousers down, then the roots are probably going to be very tied up and on their last legs. They need a rejuvenation.
Well, instead of taking them to a spa, a root prune can be just the trick. It gets rid of old tired roots and the plant will grow new, healthier roots. That peperomia I pruned last year is looking very handsome now, and that little ficus that I hacked to pieces has blossomed into this beauty. Don't be scared to root prune.
So, ChatGPT was telling us earlier that the Calathea zebrina lives in a naturally humid environment, and this is true of most indoor tropical plants.
This often leads folks to go mad trying to achieve 100% humidity in their homes by misting their plants every hour and setting up things like humidity trays. But the truth is, none of that really works.
I found that it's not really high humidity they crave, but it's more consistent humidity. I realise that's very easy for me to say, sat in my 75% humidity home, but even if you live somewhere drier, these humidity increasing hacks don't really work.
For example, misting doesn't really increase air humidity for any longer than a minute or so. I used to do this for my peace lily, but I just found I was only really wetting the leaves and making them susceptible to mould, plus the crispiness of the leaves was still there.
I think the best thing to do is to stick to plants that are best suited to our homes and leave them be.
They might just need time to settle to what your home can provide. That's exactly what happened to my peace lily. Now you might have noticed I have a bunch of grow lights dotted around my home.
At last count, I think I've got 8 on the go, maybe more. The reason for this is because my house generally sucks for light, and I've got this thing to prove it.
If your light meter is telling you that a plant is only getting 200 foot candles of light, you're going to be in a spot above her. They need at least 400 to not be miserable. So Sansi grow lights are the answer for me. But how long should we have them on for? The more the merrier, right? Not so much. Keep a plant under a grow light that is on for 24/7 and the poor thing will be exhausted. It turns out they need their rest and recuperation just as much as you and me, my plant friend.
The way I look at it is this. In tropical places, the sun is normally out for 12 hours a day, every day. So this is exactly what I provide at home.
I put them on for 12 hours a day and turn them off at night. I do only have them on during the day. The circadian rhythm is important here.
Now you can bag yourself an exclusive 25% discount off Sansi lights with my link and code in the description to this video. So have a look on their website.
I like the 30-watt bulbs that you can plug into existing floor lamps that will fit your existing home aesthetic. I've shown myself watering my plants hundreds of times in my videos, and lots of times I do it like this. Now there's nothing really wrong with watering from the top, but a pro-level move would be to switch to something more like this.
There are 3 main reasons why bottom watering is the king.
First, there is a much more even distribution of water. Instead of pouring water over the top and watching most of it drain away through the holes at the bottom, we add water to a cache pot, sit your plant inside and watch as it slowly wicks up the water evenly throughout the soil.
It's this wick action that really is the game changer. The soil will become evenly saturated and all the roots will get their drink.
Second is deeper root growth. Since I made the switch 4 years ago, I've noticed that the roots of my plants tend to be concentrated at the bottom where the water is, and this is good.
Having consistently wet soil at the top means that the roots tend to grow more vigorously near the crown of the plant, with the potential to choke it out.
Third, and perhaps most importantly, is to make your plants less hospitable for the world's most annoying creature, the fungus gnat. It stops fungus gnats turning up and thinking you've laid out the red carpet for them.
There are 2 things these pesky buggers love: fungus to feed off and wet soil to lay their eggs. If the top of the soil is dry, they will turn around and find somewhere else to go.
Bottom watering ensures the top remains relatively dry. If you're the doting plant parent that I think you are, then you'll be fertilising your plants every couple of weeks or so.
If this doesn't sound like you, then don't panic too much, they will forgive you.
We all know that fertilising in spring and summer is a good thing. It helps the leaves sparkle with colour, the roots grow strong, and the stem's able to fight off disease. But what do we do when winter rolls in? Lots of guidance out there says we should stop fertilising, mainly because the plant has stopped growing and won't need it. But has it though?
Even here in gloomy old Sheffield, plants still push out new leaves, all except one, the ficus. For some reason, this plant goes dormant, so I just leave him be.
Everything else though pretty much carries on regardless, so this means we should fertilise as normal. They'll sure be grumpy if they don't receive their Weetabix in the morning.
And a pro hack to stop forgetting when you last fertilised what is to add a diluted amount of feed to every watering can.
This next one is an absolute classic, and if you change your mindset with your plants, it will be golden.
It's easy to fall into the trap of out of sight, out of mind with our plants. I'm often very guilty of this.
I don't mean locking your plants away in a cupboard or anything, I just mean focusing on the right thing.
The leaves and stems are the part we can see, so that's our focus for 95% of the time. But as I always say in my videos, a plant is only as good as its foundations.
If we can shift our mindset to focus on making the roots as healthy as possible and not just the foliage, we're on our way to plant heaven. The basic example is not letting your plant get to level 3 root boundedness, or keeping them in soil that is nice and light and won't let the roots rot.
But we can take this up a notch and really get to pro level settings.
And that's with something called mycorrhizal fungi. Add a spoonful of this stuff to your roots and your plants will love you.
I made a video all about the wonders of this stuff and how it works, plus how best to apply it, that you should definitely watch next. So click on the link here and I'll see you there.